I guess you can always tell it's a slow day if I'm actually creating content instead of complaining on it. So here's video. It's what I've been meaning to make for a year now, and since it has been a year, I thought I might as well film in the exact same locale. Missing my co-pilot because he's too stubborn to come off of my chair and help me out with his opinion too. So we're going to talk again about feminism and a year's worth of activism and studying and research and experience has led me to realize that there actually nowadays is no such thing as true feminism anymore. It's the no true Scotsman fallacy. Again, I've actually been told that at one point when I was trying to explain my version, well, what I had thought feminism was supposed to be. I was told, oh, so your version of feminism is the correct one. It's no true feminist and all that horse shit that people use when they're bored or they can't think of any other argument. I'm like, you obviously are bored. So allow me to, in a way, respond and sorry, really strong tea. Correct myself on a few things that I did state in the past, as well as any things that I've learned and what I guess. I'm sorry, I never work with a script, so it's always like blah, 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 blah. But hey, that's what I do. So yeah, what people have been calling me, from my point of views, which really surprised me when somebody first called me that, and no, it wasn't anything rude or anything like that, although I did tease them and say it was rude. They called me an egalitarian, and that what I actually believe in is or what was it? Egalitarian or egalitarian, whatever the fuck it was. The gender-neutral version of feminism. That's what they called me, and I joked. I said, "Oh, well, if you're calling me that, I think I have the wrong point of view." And I realized, I thought that was a joke, but it wasn't a joke to them. They were like, "No, that's not funny." I was surprised by this because for starters, I kind of have a stupid sense of humor, so I thought, I laugh at my own jokes. What can I say? And another thing is that I didn't realize that feminism is now akin to, the word is now akin to Christian. And I did mention that at one point in a different video, but because I'm reiterating it again, I'm going to revisit it and this time go into detail. I was actually also called White Uncle Tom, but I think that was something to do with me not believing in white genocide, but that's a whole different video. We're not going to go there today. But so a couple things that I did say on that video, the F word, I'll link it in the description below if I remember. It's keep in mind it's an older video. I do speak stupidly in many ways. There is immaturity there because I still wasn't quite used to sitting in front of the camera, and still really not, but at least now I have a bit more of a relaxed perspective or way to do it, whereas before I was just like, I gotta keep talking, gotta keep nattering, gotta keep doing this, and I'm not really in for that at the moment. Excuse me, could you please get out of my eyes? So we're gonna transition my glasses here. So that's how you know they don't listen. Elements don't listen, man. Alright. So one of the things I addressed was that I call myself a feminist despite knowing the stigma, although at the time I didn't know how deep-rooted and exactly what the stigma was. I call myself a feminist stubbornly to try and recreate meaning for the word. And I have been using that for about a year now, and it has been biting me in the ass because again, it is that thing that people love to say, the no true Scotsman fallacy. Oh, well, it's your brand. It's just, but this is the kind of shit that I've been talking about. This is why I say it's like when you say Christian. You know, oh, you're Christian. You're just like, oh, automatically you get something, a completely filled up stereotype of the kind of person that you have in your head. Now it's like that with feminism. So I say I'm a feminist, and they take one look at me, my fucking hair, my makeupless face, and the fact that I don't really give a shit about what I wear. Hello, helicopter. They think, oh, she's a feminazi, she's a feminist, she's one of those guys I want to cut off, or girls I want to cut off all guys' balls and throw them to her dog and stuff like that. And, well, I think maybe before I grew up a bit more, I probably would have said, yeah, I hate men. I absolutely hated them for a long time. When I made that video, I didn't, and to date, I don't. I don't hate men anymore. I really did. I'm not lying here. And I've hinted at it in many videos in which I admit freely that I was an extremely sexist, I know it's not a real word, but this is what they use, misandrist. And I fucking, let's just like, anytime there was, I remember I mentioned in the Terry Pratchett video, I refused to read books by men. I didn't like being male characters. Link was the exception. I don't know why. For video games there were some exceptions, but that was because girls had to make exceptions, because back then there weren't really a lot of female protagonists. There are now, which is excellent. And no, I'm not going to go into a rant about feminism in games, because there's just no point in that. I know why the games are the way they are. It's just the way it is. It's just a familiar story that we all know. And that's not my take on that, and I'm not going into any more detail on feminism in video games, except for that. So don't even ask. But yeah, back then I was so bad, and needless to say, it didn't get me a lot of dates. It didn't get me a lot of friends. Growing up, I was more, I think I was seen as safe for, I guess when I was really, really young, I didn't have any friends at school, but on my block, on my development, I would get along with one guy who I grew up with, and a couple of other people that put up with me, because I knew this guy. And this guy was cool, but he did eventually turn tail and completely ignore me, and now, like, last I saw, he was like some kind of weed dealer or some shit, so dodged a bullet there, didn't I? But I would always hang out with guys, and I think they saw me as somebody safe, because even then, like, people can kind of sense it, even as kids, they kind of sense, sometimes even before you, the kind of person that you are, or the kind of person that you may become. And I think a lot of, I hate to say it, but I think a lot of the things that came from school, like a lot of the abuse that I got, was because they thought I was a lesbian. And lesbians were free game, especially in Catholic schools. And I just wonder, looking back, it seems kind of obvious now, especially since they started to leave me alone when I started dating Terry, kind of. They were racist to him, and I wanted to rip their balls off. That's a different story. But I see, I've never dated a woman. I've been in love with women before. I did have my heart broken, but it's been broken several times by this person, and yeah, it's just the way that is. And yes, Terry does know who this person is, and yes, he understands. And no, I would never choose her over him. Not at this point. But it's really weird, because even a friend of mine that I really have opened up to in the past, and that we've like exchanged really good like stories and stuff that I've met on Google Plus, he thought I was a lesbian too. And I guess it's because Terry's name is also unisex. Go fig. But sorry, I just noticed that there's a scratch on the wall from Milo that I need to fix. Well, that's less about feminism and more about relationships and more about how people view me. But as it is related. I'm viewed as a feminazi. I'm viewed as like one of those almost like a lesbian female, you know. And don't get me wrong, I think the female do really good work, but I kind of get how people can be turned off by their methods. That's how they see me, and you know, and that's ironically like how I would view feminism. You know, you like, there are ways to do it for shock value that'll work, but you don't have to cut off men, or you don't have to like do this or that for it. You know what I mean? Okay. The questions that I was asked to test if I was a feminist or an egalitarianist or whatever the fuck the word is, was, do I support male circumcision? Do I support mandatory male draft? Do I support, what was the last? Damn it! I should have kept it. I should have kept a screen capped and ready for you guys. They were really good questions too. So I'll just go on the list of things that people misconceive about feminism. They think that men should be ruled and women should be on top. I disagree. I think there should be an equalist system. I do think that there should be equal male and female representation in things like political bodies, political things like that. I also do think that there should be a transgender voice. I think it's safe to qualify that there are now 5 sexes, and I think that there should be representation for each. What I mean by 5 sexes is male, cis female, trans male, trans female, intersex. That's how I view it. That's my opinion. Flame away. It's okay. That's okay. It's probably not a very nice and closed-minded way of sorting it, but if I'm at my coldest, that's how I sort it. But I think there should be equal representation. Right now we don't have that. Right now, especially in my country, there is a drastic shift. It's like, and it was just recently revealed that there isn't even a sexual harassment policy in Parliament, right? They're doing it right now in fucking 2015. Canada is almost 150 years old, and they've been letting women into politics for almost 100 years, and this is the horse shit we get? We don't even have a sexual harassment policy. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. And that's what I don't like. So I'll go through sorry, I'm supposed to go through the list. Maybe I should start using scripts. Okay. No, I don't think men should be circumcised unless there's a defect, or unless later in life he decides he would like to do it himself. I know that it began as a religious custom. It also began as a hygienic custom. So, in my opinion, no baby, male or female, should ever have to sorry, it's really hard to talk about. Wow. Really, no one should be circumcised unless they want to, or unless there's something wrong. No one, no male, no female. Unless, like, for religions, I get it. It's a religious right. They give up the foreskin as their kind of human sacrifice to God. Okay. Babies don't have that capacity to choose. And as parents, you shouldn't be able to choose for them. If that man, or say it's a woman, in I don't know, I think in some Islamic sects that they do that as well. Like the female circumcision, they do that for like denying pleasure for God or something like that. But it's a religious thing. I think that the person in the religion should grow up and get to decide when they're an adult which they want to choose, because circumcision is mutilation. It's assault. Like, that baby has no way of consenting to that. And sorry, my little brother was circumcised when he was really young, and I had to hear it, and talking about this upsets me. So I'm against it unless there's health reasons, or unless they choose to later in life for their religion. I'm against it. That's my opinion. Mandatory male draft, I'm against it. I don't believe that males are expendable, and I really think it's weird that nobody's ever really addressed this before, that we expect our boys to go and fight for us, and that the women stay behind, even though some of them are more able-bodied and bigger and stronger and stuff like that. It makes no sense to me. Why should they go just because they have the danglies? Like, that makes no sense to me. I think that if there has to be a mandatory draft, which I'm a pacifist, I don't believe in war, I don't believe in that shit. If there has to be a mandatory draft, it has to be based on health and age and not sex. It shouldn't be males first. Fuck off. Like, if you're gonna make your country fight, at least make it equal. And I understand there has to be people that stay behind, but there are lots of people who can stay behind. What else was the other question? Right, okay. This one really got me. Would I be open to support male-only shelters for the homeless and help, especially shelters that help men get back on their feet and help them with their drug addiction and help them get their homes back, especially if they've had everything stripped from them because they have past marriage? And absolutely, I'm 100% for that. I occasionally go downtown to Toronto, and it's absolutely true that the streets are filled with homeless men. I'm not denying that there are females out there. Like, women usually tend to sell their bodies to survive, and men do too, but they're not as successful. And yes, I think there should be male shelters. If there's female shelters, then there should be male. If you're gonna separate by one sex, you're gonna separate by the other sex. It's just the way it is. It's just how it should be. And so if you're gonna have female shelters, I always thought it weird that we had shelters and women's shelters. So what's shelters then? Shelters is for both sexes, but there's no male shelters. So why are there female shelters? I get it in many ways, because women are the ones that tend to stereotypically get the children, so they need a separate shelter. But men do too. Men get raped too. Men have to prostitute as well. Men are stuck with children too. Men need that. They need the help. And ignoring it, favoritism over. I'm not saying, well, not favoritism, but more focus is on the women than the men, and I think that's really weird. I have to make this into 2 parts because I'm running out of time. So, end of part 1. I will see you in a moment for part 2. Coming up.